Terrarian in the Dungeon, Chapter 7, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. Shouldn't we try to get another party, Roseanne? The green-haired elf, that I didn't talk with and was next to the curvaceous, darker-skinned elf who was leading the party, asked, obviously worried about how strong in particular the aberrant was, because for all we knew it could be a level 2 monster, and could just rip us apart. Well, rip them apart anyway. I had potions of swiftness and even recall potions so I could flee if necessary. No. More people could have the dungeon respond by trying to drop a monster party on us. Roseanne muttered, frowning at the room's entryway. Entryway is too big to funnel them as well. I threw in to shut down any such idea, as the dungeon hallway was a solid 15 meters wide, which meant the whole monster party within could rush down the hallway anyway. For a moment Roseanne clearly thought about whether she wanted to change her survival by doing this mad monster cleansing, and I could see from the way her shoulders untensed that she came to her decision. Mia, Niana, we are retreating. We don't know how dangerous these aberrant and mutated are in a group. Roseanne said shamelessly as I was ready to go in and take advantage of how much faster the aberrant and mutated were and kill them with the archers, as they would be the first rushing over to us. Good luck, young man. The curvy elf said, placing her dusky skin-toned hand across her exposed cleavage and bowing to me slightly. Then the three elves, literally after posing and arguing for the damned room, just walked off for fuck's sake. Well, damn it. Do I want to chance this now? I muttered as I watched the three girls turn around another hallway and leave my sight. Looking back towards the room and then my wolfram drone, I sighed as I took out my Squire Squirrel staff and summoned Sir Fluffykins the First, as I knew my bro wouldn't abandon me like those girls did when the goings got rough. But as I summoned the very expressive squirrel, he whirled around as much as he could from his sitting position, and when he locked eyes with me, he began laughing and pointing at me, and I remembered how Seshet claimed the squirrel as her shop's security guard or something. Seshet is going to be pissed, isn't she? I asked, and he firmly nodded while making the motions that meant rest in peace. Well, Seshet can't kill me if I kill myself in the dungeon, can she? I mused as I picked up the squirrel and put it on my wooden armor, and as I mentioned killing myself, I earned a rather hard bonk on my helmet from my summon slapping the helmet as though telling me to get serious. The reason I was chancing this, honestly slightly suicidal test of courage was, well, my Terrarian crafted items were for sure strong and could help me bridge the gap, especially later on with the higher level adventures. But I had nothing helping my growth like Bell had with his cheat skill. Not only that, but I wanted to be strong and known for being strong, as I didn't want to spend months running around the world of Damachi trying to get certain resources that I would need and likely be highly uncommon if not impossible to find here in Ororio, like certain weird flowers for potions, wood from the Elvish lands, and countless other things I could literally commission other people to get for me in order to earn my favor and get one of my creations. Hence why I was going to fucking cheat and use grenades to kill all these monsters. Grenades are literally craftable with just some iron scraps and gunpowder being just charcoal and sulfur mixed together. I mused as I held out a grenade in both hands that I had made in my off time. Calamity add-ons that allowed for the crafting of certain vanilla items were proving more than ever their value, as without it I wouldn't have been able to craft grenades at all as far as I was aware, and especially important as Terraria NPCs just weren't a damn thing here at all, so it's not like I could just go buy gunpowder and bullets in mass. Here, I said, handing a bag filled with grenades to Sir Fluffykins the First. Just because Terraria never finished the thrower class didn't mean my homeboy Insane Squirrel couldn't just throw bombs and other crap at my foes from atop my shoulders. The only limitation on him as a sentry seemed to be that he physically couldn't walk around, not that I couldn't arm him with other munitions than his summoned acorns. Bwah chick snick. The Insane Squirrel cheered, shaking the bag over my head and making my butt pucker as it seemingly worshipped the bag filled with highly explosive ordnance. Alright, at least let me die by monsters. I muttered as I took out my copper short bow and finally entered the resting room of the monster party. I saw the kobolds and goblins were already up and moving to investigate the cheering noises Sir Fluffykins the First made when I gave him the bag. Damn it. I muttered as I began shooting arrows at the crowd of monsters that saw me as they came into view and began rushing toward the entranceway of the room. Realizing I was certainly outnumbered, I began a jogging back pace as I did my best to send arrows towards the red-skinned goblin aberrant monster that truly outstripped its compatriots in speed. The other mutated weren't really much of a concern, but just as I began worrying, I saw Sir Fluffykins the First opening action since the battle made its impact, as his insane aim even while bouncing along on my shoulders was still true. With a loud thunking noise that rang out even through the sounds of the screams of monsters and of the laser fire coming from my Wolfram drone, I saw the round bottom end of the metal grenade nail the rushing goblin right in the eye, making it stagger and trip in its all-out sprint towards me. Seeing the grenade approaching the goblin to begin with, I quickly covered my ears, as grenades in Terraria had an interesting mechanic when they impacted living creatures. Boom! With a roar of sound and an explosion of flames, the grenade exploded, filling the all-too-small hallway with its explosive might, and I winced at the phantom feeling of my armor rating emptying at the hit to block out the concussive force and protect me from harm. But it was more than worth it, as the aberrant monster was just a shredded, burnt corpse lying on the ground with its mutated brethren and the mutated kobolds that were behind it reeling at the grenades, obviously blowing out their eardrums with how we were in an enclosed space. Thus, the rest of monster cleanup was easy enough, as I took away Sir Flufflikins the first's grenades, as the floors were too damn small for him to be using these things, and for the rest of the monsters, I used my topaz staff to kill the reeling mutated and then got into close combat with the dozen or so utterly normal versions that, although they scratched me a bit, I still was able to defeat them with my copper broad and short sword combo. "Now let's see what I can do with you," I said as I took the aberrant monster stone from my Wolfram drone that was acting as my supporter. And honestly, not too unexpectedly, it merely counted for 5 mutated monster stones in my crafting menus, which although wasn't really all that great, but in the end having more ways to get mana stars was the most important bit, as making them was ultra important for upgrading my own internal mana storage as well as making magical items. Even with only having an anvil and workbench at home, I could already create a great deal of magical tomes/weapons, but I wasn't sure which one I wanted to make. As trying to conquer the first floors of the dungeon with the golden shower was just asking for a humiliating epitaph from the gods for when I ranked up. "Well, let's head to the other monster party sites," I said, giving Sir Flufflikins the first a fist bump to congratulate his amazing throw, and even as the squirrel chittered away in a smug manner, I felt his fuzzy and soft paws fist meet my own. Beep! My Wolfram drone went zooming around me so quickly I was getting dizzy, not to mention, with it doing the zoom eyes, I couldn't move forward. All right. You did well as well," I said, laughing weakly as I patted the drone on its head as it stopped doing zoom eyes around me. "Was this why you could only have so many summons in Terraria? Because they all had character and would pout and throw a fit if they didn't get enough attention? Then, just as we had done before, I would sneak up into the monster party rooms, and then me and Sir Flufflikins the first would both chuck a couple of grenades at the aberrant and mutated monsters leading the monster parties. Needless to say, having 3 to 4 grenades exploding in a tightly packed group of monsters made our efficacy completely out of the norm, but although the charcoal was all but free in Seshet's shop, I was made well aware that sulfur was a rather rare material due to it needing to be harvested from the dangerous areas that not only had its natural poison gases from where the sulfur came up from the ground, but there were also highly toxic monsters that thrived in that environment. So, each grenade cost me literally like 5,000 valis worth of sulfur, which was why I was only using it for the aberrant and mutated, as I could justify its use, as I couldn't beat the monsters anyway, and most importantly, I needed their monster stones so I could upgrade everything to do with my magic basically. So, no matter what, even if I turned in all the monster stones, even the aberrant and mutated ones, I was at a net loss in valis after using like a dozen grenades over the course of the day.